How's it going, Bob? Couldn't be better. I did well in my job interview. Good for you. He gave instructions to the trainees, but they couldn't make heads or tails of them. You can't do two things at one time. It's out of the question. Do them one by one. Bob, don't disturb her. Mind your own business, he whispered. If you persist in bothering her like that, she lost her temper. He was so childish that he couldn't resist temptation. Stop making a fuss. It really gets on my nerves, she shouted. There's no point in talking back to Nick. He's a dictator, so to speak. They are very polite in his presence, but actually, they always talk about him behind his back. You despise Nick, don't you? On the contrary, I look up to him. His constant insults aroused her anger. I'm fed up with just shuffling papers and pouring coffee. I made up my mind to quit. In reality, many people have difficulty making ends meet. How can you get by on 100,000 yen a month? Female clerks may well complain about their routines, which are not challenging at all. Thanks to a fundamental restructuring, our surplus has swelled threefold. Many people today think of loyalty to a company as an absurd notion. I have to commute all the way from the distant suburb. I'm sick of it. I want to spend the rest of my life passing my ideals. After retirement, Tessa devoted herself to caring for orphans. For the sake of children in need, we cooperated to collect donations. The charity is named after a man who gave away some 2 billion yen. His autobiography was released today and was sold out by noon. Ted, who is often referred to as a man of integrity, is going to run for mayor. The candidate was disappointed by the outcome of the election. The municipal council should concentrate more on specific issues. It is the case that those who live on a pension are forced to lead a hard life. We should leave out this data. It's far from accurate. We tend to associate politicians with hypocrisy. They are primarily concerned with exploiting us, not with enhancing our living standard. The man once exerted a dominant influence on the Conservative Party, but now his power is diminishing. The spokesperson refused to make any comments, saying it's under investigation. The police said there's something pulling string behind the scenes. The executives entertained the bureaucrats at Ryote or exclusive Japanese restaurants, hoping for something in return. His secretary flatly denied leaking any confidential information. No one dared to contradict her employer for fear of being fired. He sacrificed his promising career to retain his dignity. I might as well kill myself as reconcile myself to my feet. He was about to commit suicide by swallowing poison when he thought better of it. The vague rumor proved to be false. Nevertheless, some skepticism lingers on. A senior official is suspected of accepting bribe from a company, but there isn't sufficient evidence to arrest him. Jason, who was in charge of the project, was dismissed for corruption. To my knowledge, he had not been involved in the fraud scheme. They found out the truth while examining a pile of relevant documents. During the trial, it came to light that they had been covering up illegal transactions for decades. The detective took down his testimony on the spot, word for word. For the first time in my life, I felt a pang of conscience, but there was no other way out. I am still haunted by a vivid nightmare I had last night. By and large, reporters don't hesitate to intrude on one's privacy. The author revised his manuscript over and over again. He is second to none when it comes to finding fault with others. On the whole, the elite are not sensitive to criticism. When the tabloid revealed that he was a drug addict, his reputation was all but ruined. They considered every aspect of the defense program and pointed out numerous flaws. We will not tolerate anyone who engaged in terrorism. The notorious rebel was ultimately captured and confined to jail. Troops were swiftly called in to put down the riot. We should appeal to reason instead of resorting to violence. I suggest we adopt flexible tactics for the moment. The armed forces succeeded in occupying the entire territory. Under the circumstances, the enemy has no choice but to surrender. They can't hold out any longer. Sooner or later, the hostages will be set free. Under the reign of tyranny, innocent people were deprived of their citizenship. Some soldiers were reluctant to obey the commands. His regime is bound to collapse. The Allies condemned the invasion as a violation of UN resolutions. We cannot rule out the possibility that civil war will break out in that country. The colony declared independence and became republic. An immense monument was erected in honor of the noble patriot. He got down on his knees and prayed for the soul of the deceased. The Supreme Court is located near the Imperial Palace. The pro-choice group protested against the ban on abortion. Senator Ford remained neutral in the bitter controversy. Ford has been in a difficult situation all week long. He is no longer capable of coping with it. The summit talks are to be broadcast simultaneously throughout the world. Diplomatic dialogue helped put an end to the conflict. Johnson was appointed as a goodwill ambassador to foster mutual understanding between the two nations. The specialists predict international tension will build up. In my opinion, permanent peace is nothing but an illusion. Ethnic minorities struggle against prejudice, poverty, and oppression. We must make every effort to do away with all discrimination. The immigrants have endured physical and mental pain. The amendment was rejected because it didn't take racial diversity into account. Needless to say, the refugees were longing for freedom. According to a survey, 3 in 5 people today are indifferent to foreign affairs. What will become of Japan-US relations if the security treaty expires? Unless Japan eliminates its unfair tariffs, the US will impose sanctions. Trade friction might arise between the two nations at any moment. Our top priority is to settle this dispute once and for all, so we are ready to meet them halfway. The federal budget was narrowly approved by Congress. He argued that the administration must look for alternative sources of revenue. A poll showed that an overwhelming majority is in favor of the legislation. The cops are searching for a clue to the brutal murder. The man must be insane. He can't distinguish vice from virtue. The fingerprints left on the weapon correspond with the suspects. It took us all by surprise when the noted psychologist was accused of kidnapping. The jury's guilty verdict gave rise to widespread debate. The man pleaded for mercy, but he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for his crime. The officer on duty perceived an elderly man coming up behind him. He caught sight of a thief attempting to break into the house. The day before yesterday, he witnessed a weird incident in the wilderness. I became aware of something staring at me from across the aisle, so I turned around, but there was no one in sight. She screamed with horror as someone took hold of her arm. Informed of her safety, he breathed a sigh of relief. The bullet penetrated his chest, leaving him in critical condition. At present, it is still uncertain whether it was done deliberately or by accident. A deli caught fire and burned down, leaving a heap of ashes. All of a sudden, the fireworks warehouse exploded, and it took 2 days to put out the blaze. A bomb went off in a 30-story building, and more than 50 people were seriously wounded. A cargo vessel bound for Athens sank in the Mediterranean without a trace. The reckless man froze to death during their expedition to the Antarctic. The tragedy must be remembered so as not to be repeated. The exhibition offers profound insights into ancient civilization. Giotto is credited with sowing the seeds of the Italian Renaissance. Bohm mounted the portrait in a fancy frame, but it was upside down. This magnificent cathedral dates back to the Middle Ages. Asian regions inspired him to create splendid sculptures. They explored the desert in search of buried treasure. The millionaire insisted on acquiring the masterpiece no matter how much it cost. Myths and legends should be handed down from generation to generation. The linguist is fluent in several Chinese dialects. The tribe worships its ancestors and speaks its own language, which is not familiar to us. The anthropologist says all the customs still prevail in the province. The wicked witch cast an evil spell on the man and turned him into a bug. They proceeded along the steep path, which was the sole access to the border. When a big wave emerged from the cave, they got frightened and ran away. Believe it or not, I saw an alien and then it vanished. Give me a break.